Welcome to Cut the BS with Holly and Rachel.
We are here to help you ditch the overwhelm, stop second guessing, and reconnect with what truly fuels your body, your mind, and your life.
No fluff, no filters, just real talk that helps you feel strong, aligned, and unstoppable. Whether you're on a walk, commuting, or sipping your favorite matcha, this is your space.
Hey, so welcome to Cut the BS with Holly and Rachel. If you don't know, now you know. My name is Rachel, aka Ray Ray, aka Bon Bon, and with me is my better half here,
Holly, aka Holly, aka Holly Ramsey.
Holly Ramsey is here to stay, and we love her.
Sometimes in this space, you really need a Ramsey around, you know?
Honestly,
Somebody to
Lord knows
just-
I need it.
And you have two. You have two. How
So
does that
many.
feel?
I have so many in my life. It's unreal. All right. So today we are going to be talking about the infamous SkinnyTok. You guys heard of SkinnyTok is my question. Is it just me that I see on my feed? I know it's on everyone's feed. So SkinnyTok is obviously in the social media space. That's what we typically dive through here at Cut the BS. We dive through a lot of the social media space things that we see because we are consumers of the social media, as are you viewers. So SkinnyTok is an idea that we see a lot of times that just promotes the smallest version of yourself. It often promotes, Holly, I know that you were talking about the Pilates arms. And as women, there has always been conversation around our bodies. And sometimes the trends have leaned one way or another as far as whatever society is pressuring us to do. And I think recently, society has been pressuring us to become the smallest version of ourselves.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think we're all seeing that even in media spaces like movies, more and more we're seeing actors be super skinny. The one that really caught my eye and I think caught a lot of social media's eye was Wicked. And a lot of
Yes.
people really, really saw it then.
Yeah, definitely. And, it's hard because we don't see these people every day. So while we just see like kind of the comparisons from year to year, which obviously look more drastic, but I know that the changes I saw from, whatever year it was to now was pretty insane. And keeping in mind that like skinny is a spectrum, weight, body fat percentage, like that's all a spectrum. I think that right now the trend is, becoming the smallest version of yourself, being small, being petite, having the Pilates arms, which the Pilates arms are typically just like really lean arms. And while I do think that some people do become a healthier version of themselves by, losing a little bit of weight, there's a balance, which is our favorite thing to talk about. There's a balance between being too skinny and maybe not having any muscle mass, and what is optimal for our health, for our longevity, for our bone density, things of that nature. And so I think just creating open conversation around it is really important because this is a sensitive topic. Like this is not like an easy, let's go to coffee and talk about this. Like this can be hard for people, like this can be difficult for people because some people are really sensitive about like their own body composition and nobody wants to be told what to do. That's for sure. So it's a difficult one.
Yeah, I agree. Like you said, skinny is a spectrum. So like what, I consider skinny is not what someone else is going to consider skinny and where they want to be. Where I might be like, oh, I'm looking really skinty today. Someone else might look at me and be like, girl, what do you mean? So
Yeah.
it's, like you said, it's just hard to navigate what it means to everybody. And I think that's kind of why we're making this episode a little bit is to talk about just self-acceptance and finding your definition of these things and your happy place within your own body, mentally, physically, emotionally, all the things, and not letting trends dictate how and what you do with your body, because ultimately trends are just that. They phase in and out. We see it time and time again. For the longest time, I feel like when I first started my fitness journey, it was more about a big butt, thick thighs, curves, and now we're slowly shifting away from that. Well, I don't know if I would say slowly. Honestly, I feel like this was like a very drastic, like overnight, it almost feels like.
Mhm.
Um, and we're going away from that. And eventually we'll return to the curvy body type and thinking that's the ideal body, right? So again, just finding your happy place with yourself is just so important. And I think that's, again, ultimately the goal of this episode is to just kind of have that open dialogue and talk about why it's so important to find your happy point and not let trends dictate what you're doing in the gym, nutritionally, medically, maybe medicine wise, what you're taking. Um, I'm kind of excited. I am a little nervous. Like you said, I think it's a delicate topic and conversation to have. And I think it's just important for everyone to know we're doing our best with how we're approaching this. And it is something we're treading lightly with. And we, feel called to talk about it. It is so
Yeah.
important.
Yeah. And to that too, like I know with myself, like I have I tend to grab a hold of a lot of the lingo that's going around and like that's trending sometimes, and so like obviously there's a trend right now talking about um where did her waist go? Like we can't find it. Like we've joked about that, and then sometimes I'll
Yeah.
joke about being a wisp of air, which usually that's all lighthearted, Well, there are days because I also fall victim to some of this stuff that I do actually wish I was a wisp of air. And we'll talk a little bit more about this in a little bit, but it's mostly in jest. And I think because I work really hard to tell myself truth of that strong is the way to be, having muscle mass, things like that. And even if we are a little thick, curvy girl, that is still healthy as well. Um, you talked about trends, Holly, and we know, like you said, the trend used to be a little bit on the thicker side, big butt, big thighs. And we can just, quite frankly say that Kim Kardashian was a big push for that when she started becoming really famous, and
Mhm.
she's like a Hollywood icon to some people. And that was like what, 2016? Um, but then if we think before that, like in the 2000s, low-rise jeans were a trend, which I've never been a fan of. And like just being very small, being the smallest version of yourselves. And so then it shifted into that, 10, 15 years later. But now here we are, 10 years past 2016, which is insane to even say.
Yeah.
Insane to even say. But we're 10 years past that now, and we're starting to see that shift again, kind of, which it's skinny talk. That's like a word that a lot of people are using, like, oh, I'm on skinny talk, and that's just kind of saying like my algorithm on TikTok is, how people like what I eat in a day to stay this lean, or
Yeah.
like what I eat, things like that.
Yeah.
So, um, maybe this trend will die out in a few years and we can get back to strong. Maybe we can have strong is like, is the way to
Literally just
go.
strong. Who cares
Yeah.
what it looks like? Just strong
Yeah.
muscle
Just strong.
mass.
Right.
And I don't know about you. I'm not, our algorithm is catered to us. But like, what have the trends been in men's bodies? Why is it always trending for women to change their bodies to fit the standards that are now the beauty standards? When has there been, this is an honest to God question, has there been a change in men's desired body type? Like, I know people say, like, oh, I love a dad bod, or, I know I like someone more fit. But that's like age range trends more than societal shifts.
Yeah, I can't think of any time that a man has had to go through this. I mean, like you said, the dad bod thing, which a dad bod is literally easy to achieve, first of all. Second of all, that was the trend. That's the only trend I can think of. Like, I remember there
Yeah.
being a brief trend of was it a SZA song that was like, big boy or something? I need a big
I
boy.
don't even remember that.
Need a big boy. It's a big boy.
But
I don't
that's
know.
like, to me, that's like, oh, like this is my type versus trends, you know? Oh, I do remember this song now. Like it's slowly coming back. Yeah. Yeah.
Love it.
Crazy.
But yeah, it's just the difference in, the gender role situations that we have and um the expectations of both and lack thereof even like when it
Yeah.
comes to men. It doesn't seem quite fair. I do feel like women, and some of it's self-inflicted, like sometimes we inflict our own like judgment and harshness on ourselves. Um, but it's just something that we have to deal with as women. And I think, again, like the more conversation there is around it and the more realistic we can be with ourselves of what the truth is versus what someone else is saying that we don't know, I think that's going to serve us well. And it's
Hmm.
hard. Like I struggle with it, definitely struggle with it. And I have to have a lot of conversations about it, and I have to keep in check with myself to make sure that I'm not, I guess, just overdoing it. Like
Hmm.
overdoing what I want and overdoing, the steps I'm taking. Because obviously, I said this last episode, like I'm in a cut right now. And while I think it's a healthy cut because I'm maintaining and still trying to build muscle mass. I'm just trying to lose
Hmm.
body fat percentage. But my goal is still what science says is considered healthy for a woman. So, I think that's a big piece of it too. Like, what do the studies show that is healthy for a woman, just the average woman in her 30s, 40s, whatever it is, like what is that healthy range? And is that what we're trying to meet, or are we trying to like go to the extreme?
Really checking in with ourselves, especially, yeah, when you're setting goals. Like, what's the why of this goal? Um, Honestly, is that something that you would be willing to share? Like, why you decided to go back into a cut a little bit?
Yeah, yeah. Well, so this has been a very long journey. And I've spoken a little bit before on the pod about it. In 2024, I hadn't weighed myself in years. Like I avoided the scale. There's a lot of fear around it, and I got on the scale in 2024 and weighed the most I had ever weighed. Now, well, I do think that there's caveats to the scale because they don't always show the full picture. Um, I still like even with like muscle and fat ratio, we all have our own weight range that feels good to us, where we feel like we move well, we feel like we have good energy, our joints feel good. Like that looks different on everybody. It depends on like how tall you are, it depends on how old you are, how long your legs, like there're just so many different factors that play into it. For
Hmm.
me, the weight I was at in 2024 it was not comfortable for one. Um, and the body fat percentage, which I also measured, was just like it was entering into a questionable, unhealthy range.
Yeah.
Um, and I attribute that to just like kind of free balling food and overindulging in a lot of things that weren't fueling me properly. And then like being newly married and, there's like a phase where you're just like living la vida loca. Typically people in relationships, they eat out more together. Like it's just, especially for the woman, like we usually eat when the man eats. And so, or at least how it was for me. And, my husband definitely eats more than me.
And
So it's
he
just like a
can eat
whole,
more and get away with it too. It's the worst part.
which is also should be illegal, might I add.
Right.
So yeah, it was it was, I felt not comfy. It was the most I'd ever been, and it wasn't a comfortable place to be. And so I started then. And this was in 2024. Now we're in 2026. We're almost 2 years later. I phase in and out of the cuts because I do them very slowly. I don't want to lose muscle mass. I want to stay strong. Those are like two really big things. Because like we talk all the time about women and muscle mass. Like muscle mass is huge for women, especially, and like thinking in the future too, like preparing for the future, my future body, like muscle mass is important. So I decided to take the slow route. And now, so I took a 3-4 month break through the holidays, which I usually do because who wants to be miserable on the holidays? Nobody. And we're just entering kind of back in. I'm so close to like I am starting to feel so much better at the weight that I'm at the body fat percentage I'm at. I'm moving better. My joints feel better. Like there are just so many things that I'm seeing improve, not just the numbers. Um, so yeah, that's kind of why I'm back in it. Like I said, we're almost there, and honestly, I feel myself being less, what's the word? Like hard on myself where I'm at now because I am at a good place.
Mhm.
I do think I could maybe lose a little bit more body fat, maybe like 2 or 3 more percentages and feel optimal, but like I'm still at a much better place than I was 2 years ago. And that's just been a big part for me.
No, that's huge. And again, like that's a much more rooted why than just the aesthetics of it all. And if it was the aesthetics, it would have been a quick little thing, right? You would have thrown
Yeah.
the maintaining of the muscle mass to the side and
Yeah.
just gone into a cut, and maybe been where you wanted to be within a year. But like looking at the big picture is so, so important. And I think that's something that, it's okay to want to lose weight, but being okay with it taking time and going the sustainable, long term, better for you route is so important.
Yeah. And I think too, like, I'm sure you probably feel this as well. Like, I do feel added pressure because of the field that we're in. Like, everything that I do in almost every aspect of my life has to do with health and wellness. Like, I'm coaching a sport. I'm a wellness coach at 3 hotel properties. I have an online business where I coach women in health and wellness and like, strength training and things like that. So I also have that added pressure. Like, I want to be at my healthiest for myself, which I talked about. I want to feel comfortable. I want to move well. But then additionally onto that, like, I want to be the example to my clients, to the people I work with. Like, I'm not just talking about it, I'm being about it, I
Yeah,
think is another piece. So,
I
and I
agree.
think I feel like a lot of people too, like, especially people who have kids, like, that's, I'm not telling you what your wife should be, but if you have kids and like you're being that example to them, like that should be a big part of your why, or it would be for me. You So
Yeah.
something to consider.
Yeah. I tell people all the time on my coaching calls, it's like monkey see, monkey do. If you grow up and you prioritize, well balanced meals with a little bit of like, sweet treats in moderation and your kid sees you working out, like that's just the best example you could set for them, in my opinion, and really set them up with healthy habits and a healthy baseline,
Yeah.
which I don't know. I feel like that should be the requirement, honestly. Maybe
Yeah.
that's a hot take, but
Yeah. No, I
yeah.
agree. And I think again, like reiterating and emphasizing that on both ends of the spectrum both ends of the spectrum can be dangerous. Like we can, carry too much weight body composition wise and be unhealthy. And we can also not carry enough and be unhealthy. And I think that, and also taking into consideration, like, genetics are real.
Mhm.
And like, sometimes I feel like what people are striving for is not realistic when it comes to what their like genetics are telling them. I'm not saying that you can't reach your goals because of genetics, and I definitely don't think that you should use genetics as a crutch. But I think taking into consideration, like for me, genetically, I carry my weight in my lower half. Like that is just how genetically I am set up. And so in turn, it's easier for me to put on muscle lower half. And because I'm, a female, but also it's where I carry a lot of my like body fat as well. And so I can't get mad at that.
Definitely agree. Take it all with a grain of salt. Everything you're seeing online too, because you don't know. The scary part, I think, of skinny talk and the trend of skinny today is that it is all online. Like, your inspiration is online, and you don't know. They might not be disclosing what they're taking. And that's so unfair, in my opinion, that you're out here preaching, a healthy lifestyle and you lost all this weight, and then you don't have to disclose that you're taking something.
Yeah.
And
It's like
that's just so dangerous.
they're using it as a scapegoat. Like they're using health and
Yeah.
wellness as a scapegoat to cover up a lot of unhealthy things that they're actually experiencing. Like how they're achieving those things is really questionable?
Yes, absolutely. Which I think that kind of brings us to wanting to talk a little bit about GLP-1s. And again, treading lightly here. I think that we've gone away from using GLP-1s in a medical capacity to help with things like your A1C and managing weight for those who truly need it. It feels more like, from what I see,
Cosmetic.
cosmetic and, oh, here's a GLP-1 instead of here's lifestyle changes we can make. It's like, oh, well, let's start the GLP-1, and as we're starting it, we'll make lifestyle changes. We've never attempted the lifestyle changes. Not everyone. This is not black and white. There is gray area here. But it feels like it's a first route instead of a second route nowadays. And it is very much like lifestyle based and aesthetics based and not medically based.
Completely agree. And I'm someone who has done a lot of research on these drugs because a lot of my clients take these drugs. And I mean, I've looked at peer reviewed article after peer review article. I've listened to a lot of, credible sources speak on this, and have very strong opinions about it. I will be mildly modest for the podcast because I am too sensitive to be yelled at online. Um, but I agree. Like it's being given out like candy. And I think that there's a time and a place for it, but I think people are really abusing that. And I think they're also doing it without thinking about long term. And what I'll say about long term is that when you stop taking it, you gain the weight back unless you have incorporated lifestyle changes.
Mhm.
Now there are some doctors that are prescribing it and are really pushing like protein and lifestyle changes, but a lot of them aren't. And I have female clients that go to their yearly gyno appointment, and there are like advertisement flyers in their gyno office of that drug. Not even like, not even, it's very cosmetic, I think a lot of times. And there's so many effects of this drug. I've seen a lot of things about like stomach paralysis. Now,
Yeah.
again, I'm not a doctor, but just some things that I'm seeing in the space. A lot of stomach paralysis. It is really hard to keep your body nourished with like the vitamins and minerals
Yeah.
and macronutrients that it needs. Um, and again, like I said, like there are a lot of other physical effects. So I think I don't recommend it. I'm also not a doctor, so don't listen to me if you don't want to. But if it's solely for weight loss, I promise you there's a more sustainable and more rewarding way to do it.
Yeah. And like I said, I think that if you've exhausted all of your options and your lab work is not where you want it to be or need it to be, even, let's say need, not even want. Okay, let's talk about the options of what starting one would look like. But let's exhaust the other options first. And like you
Yeah.
said, like it's so hard when it is suppressing your appetite to get in all of your nutrients and your protein that you need to ensure that you're not losing a lot of muscle mass and all of the other functions, hormonal functions that protein plays a role in. That when you have a suppressed appetite, protein and fiber and fat are going to be some of the harder macronutrients for you to get in. Um, and again, like lack of education around lifestyle factors while taking it. I think that's really what aggravates
Yeah.
me about the push. Like, I'm not okay with them. And I would be slightly more okay with them if we talked about lifestyle factors before just here's this, go start it. Like, I just talk to people all day, every day taking it, and they're not actively making any changes. And that's
They
really
just are not
frustrating.
eating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or they're eating and they're eating, muffins and carbs. All they're eating is carbs and highly processed carbs at that. So,
And I think
I don't
it's a
know.
part of like this being an instantaneous culture. Like we want
Yep.
everything right
So true.
now. We don't want to wait. And again, like I experienced that as well, but nothing worth having happens
Yeah.
overnight. And that is just now again, you're this is coming from someone who does things the hard way. I'm like a really big like work ethic type of person. Like if I'm gonna do something, I'm gonna do it thoroughly. Not
Mm-hmm.
to say that I don't have my time and place of wanting things instantly, like my Amazon packages, for example. But I think just because I'm predisposed to this field, and I just, it's just, just put in the work, man. Just put in the
Yeah.
work and keep the steady pace of seeing results instead of trying to have a fix it.
Mm-hmm.
Because a fix it is there are negative side effects. And
Yeah.
yeah, I don't even take
And they're,
Tylenol for a headache.
no, literally. Like my period cramps have to be so, so, so unbearably bad for me to even take a Midol. Like,
Same,
I am
same,
just a suffer through what can I do other than medicine kind of gal. And I think that some of that is
same.
my knowledge in the industry. I think some of that is
Yeah,
like personal experience and yeah. And we are just scratching the surface on GLP-1 implications in those who don't medically need it.
yeah.
So I'm intrigued. I'm definitely intrigued to see, long-term effects and in all categories of it. I do have a question. So I'm gonna put you on the hot spot, Rachel.
Of course you are. Of course you are.
Do you think that people should have to disclose if they're gonna like post before and after pictures of just like, oh my gosh, 2024 to 2026? Do you believe that people should disclose I was on a GLP-1 if they're going to post a before and after photo? And I'm talking influencers, I'm talking regular smegulars, like all of it.
Is that even a abso-freaking-lutely? Abso-freaking-lutely you should. And I know there are lots of people out there that are they likely have stage 4 diabetes, and they be lying
80s is
about it.
crazy. Yeah.
So yes, because this is the thing, you know, yes, we're mainly talking to women our age, maybe a little bit older, but I'm also thinking about the generation that's coming up, like what they're seeing. And shame on you if you're saying the skinniest version of myself is the healthiest version of myself, and I'm taking all these drugs to make it happen.
Mm-hmm.
And like and then like these young women, these adolescent teens are seeing that. They are seeing that. Just like we saw in the 2000s, they're seeing it. And it creates such negative talk around our own bodies. Like the things I saw as an adolescent, like I talk negatively. I've gotten a lot better. I talk negatively about my body sometimes because that was kind of what was instilled and ingrained, and like,
I mean, the
social media wasn't even.
magazines that
Yeah.
you would see and
Huh.
like Sports Illustrated, look at those models. And I don't even know the years. Probably what, 2010 to probably 2015 is when I was putting my eyes on them as like, okay, I'm 10 years old. Like I'm starting to notice my body changing. I'm starting to notice like the magazines and what these women look like. It's crazy.
It's just, if you're gonna do it, this is my thing. There's a time and place, and if you're gonna do it, I think there's a way to do it, and there's a way not to do it. And I think a big responsibility falls on the people who prescribe these medications.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but also, if you're gonna post before and afters and you have had some help along the way, I just feel like you should disclose that because you don't want to give unrealistic expectations to adolescent minds, number one, and like just be so for real. And like, you know, you know, I just I'm trying to not like rage on it, but I just think you should be forthcoming. If you're going to brag about it, you should be forthcoming. Again, that's your right to do it or not do it. But
Mm-hmm.
let us get rid of the stage 4 diabetes. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it.
Agreed. Agreed.
I can't stand.
Especially,
It's like a pet peeve. Why you gotta lie? Why you gotta lie?
isn't that a song?
Probably. It should
No,
be
no, no, no. I'm thinking of,
blasted.
I don't know what song I'm thinking of, but it's something like, why you gotta be so, but it should be lie. Anyways, okay.
So yes, I think to kind of close out the GLP-1 conversation is that, we don't really agree with it. We think there's a time and place when it is what it is. I think that you should have a lot of questions that you're asking before you decide to go on it. And if you can do it the natural way, do it the natural way.
Yeah, and I think, like, to draw it back to SkinnyTok a little bit, I think there's just so much harm when with GLP-1s, we see the study saying the amount of muscle mass loss is concerning. And so
Yeah.
when you're promoting that level of skinny, so it's like, to me, skinny fat versus like skinny where you're more lean, maybe. I think those are really big differences. And just promoting like just being skinny for the sake of being skinny, that just doesn't sit
Yeah.
well with me. Let's be
Yeah.
skinny with a purpose, at least,
Yeah. Right. Right. At least have a purpose.
All right. So getting back into just ever changing trends,
Mhm.
how do you feel like if you were to give, younger you advice on, or somebody who is younger, advice on how to navigate trends within our bodies and body types trending in and out? What would be a piece of advice you would give?
Loaded question. I think for one, I would ask them to think about what purpose they want to serve, right? Because we all have different purposes. Some of us are very active, and so we want to serve the purpose of doing those activities well. Some of us, work a more physical job. That's our purpose. So we need to be, ready and prepared for that. I think figuring out what your purpose is physically, like what do you need your physical body to do? Um, think about that. Also think about how you can prepare efficiently and effectively for that. And then also taking into consideration later on down the road. So, like, thinking about those things first, and then properly educating yourself on how do I get there and maintain there. So, for me, I love volleyball, have played my whole life, still play now. That's something I want to feel good doing. And while naturally I'll deteriorate as I get older, how can I make my performance optimal? How can I feel my body for that? How can I prepare my muscles for that, my ligaments, my movement? And then how can I fuel myself, um, with nutritious foods? And I think when you tie it to a passion, it makes it a little easier.
Yeah. So just like really staying rooted in like who you want to become, what you want to do, how your body can serve you in a sense instead of
Yeah.
looking a certain way.
Yeah. But, just like, and honestly, it's a lot of trial and error because you
Mm-hmm.
don't have anything figured out. Even though you think you do, you don't. And even when you're 30, you
Period.
don't. So we're
Period.
just figuring it out all together.
Yeah,
And so I don't know. I think which again biased, I think everyone should educate themselves on nutrition,
agreed.
on fueling, because guess what? You have to eat every day, multiple times a day.
For the rest
So
of your
why
life.
not for the rest of your life in order to survive? So you might as well learn about how to fuel your body efficiently, for the purposes you want to serve.
Yeah. I think something I would like add to that, I think you said it all so well, is like depending on, of course, the age you're talking to, but acknowledging that honestly, I'm going to answer as if I were talking to someone my age and older. I think this could be a fun way to do it. Acknowledging that our bodies do go through phases. We do not have to fit into our high school and college size jeans when we are in our 30s. It is normal and, dare I say, healthy to not fit into what you fit into at 18 years old when you are 25 and beyond. It's
Amen.
I just don't think that's the flex that people make it out to be to get back to my college jean size. Personally,
And who likes wearing jeans anyway, Holly? They're not comfortable.
you said it. Until you have honest conversations with yourself and get real with yourself on what you want for your desired body, like where you're at your healthiest, mentally, physically, like all the things, you're never going to be content. Because if I look at pictures of myself when I was skinty, very obsessive and oh my God, I look at my prom pictures and all I think about when I think of my junior year prom is how I was so insecure because I had one of those two-piece dresses and my muffin top was exposed. Bitch, shut up. No, it wasn't. But that's all I thought. Like, so just like coming to a point of knowing what your happy, healthy body looks like and being able to navigate that negative self talk in a way where you don't feel like you need to, revert back to your skinniest version of yourself. Like, what were you doing at that skinniest version of yourself? I know for me, I was not healthy in any capacity, like relationship to food, to exercise. Honestly, like in college, I was drinking way too much, like not eating great things, also restricting at the same time. Like it was just chaos. So, like, what does healthy look like for you? Navigate negative self talk in a way that is beneficial, constructive, and ultimately being okay with the fact that our bodies go through phases. That is normal. That is healthy. That is good.
Yeah. I think I think to that point, like, our, especially as women, we change just about every 5 to 10 years, like our bodies. We do tend to get a curvier, what we call more womanly figure as we get older. You have to understand, like, biologically how we are set up,
Yes.
and biologically, like our hormones change every 7 years, and I think I heard that somewhere. I think that's factual. Check me if I'm right or wrong, but like our hormones fluctuate, our bodies change, and it's just, I mean, not even to mention like the women out there that are having kids, like, whoa, your body changes a lot. Like you literally grow a human being inside of you. So maybe
Yeah.
let's show ourselves a little bit of grace. You know what I mean? So it's
Yes.
just,
Yeah.
and I think having boundaries is important. And when, thinking about ourselves, when talking to ourselves, we're our own biggest critic. And I think
Hmm.
that, we just have to really check in with ourselves and make sure that we are striving for what's healthiest, what's going to create the best longevity. Um, and if you don't trust yourself to make that decision, like, find someone who loves you and cares about you and get their input. I mean, that's why
Yeah.
we have relationships. That's why we create connections with people. Is because sometimes they can see things that we don't. So we don't always have to have all the answers ourselves in that moment.
So true. So true. And I really love what you said about like the biology of it all, because at the end of the day, like whether it's the route you as a woman choose to take or not, our bodies are meant to carry a child. Like again,
Yeah.
whether that's the route you take or not. So when our hips change as we get a little bit older towards that childbearing age, that's okay. Your bodies are literally meant to change to be able to do biological things. Accepting that is going to be a whole lot easier than trying to completely change your biology.
Yeah, definitely. Uh, looking at the social media aspect of it, because that's where we get a lot of our like, we have never in history compared ourselves as women so much as we have the last 10 years on social media. And to be honest, no wonder everybody's ridden with anxiety and depression and all of the like mental struggles that we deal with as women, because we are not meant to carry that. Like, we're not
Yeah,
meant to carry the constant comparison and to always be swiping and looking at someone that looks different than me and to want that. Like, it's exhausting, and
so
it
true.
creates a lot of negativity mentally that, again, can play into some of those mental health struggles that we do have. And I just, like, sometimes I just delete the app off my phone. Like, if I feel myself, it's becoming too much for me, I just delete the app off my phone for a few weeks. And
Yeah.
I'm about to invest in the brick your phone.
Mm-hmm. So that's a wrap on today's very honest and raw conversation on Skinny Talk. Again, we tried to tread lightly while also having the honest dialogue. We're very excited to see how it's received and what you guys have to say about it all. Feel free, as always, let us know your thoughts. We can't wait for next episode. And, you know, just want to close us out with the reminder to protect your peace, and the skinniest version of you doesn't always mean the happiest version of you. What does the strongest version of you look like? And what does that feel like? With that, we'll catch y'all in the next episode.
And that's a wrap on this episode of Cut the BS with Holly and Rachel. If today gave you a dose of clarity, confidence, or even just a good laugh, we've done our job.
Don't forget, wellness isn't about doing more. It's about doing what actually works for you. So take what hit home, leave the rest, and keep showing up as your strongest, realest self.
Be sure to follow, rate, and share this episode with someone who's ready to cut the BS and live with more intention. Until next time.